Yo, welcome back. Uncensored Logs,
G baby.
Bastard.
Black Convoy. Today we're going to talk about a very important issue to the world today, man. This is a trigger topic, and I know what trigger means now. You feel me out?
It's not an issue.
It's an issue.
It's not an issue.
Man, that shit
It's
happens
just something
today,
that
man.
happened in
Man, fuck
history
that.
that's brought back to
Yes.
life.
But it's still something that
That it still
some
happens
people
today,
go through.
even a higher rate. You feel me? Niggas getting shot now. You feel me? So it's still the same.
It
Whatever.
is where it was born, basically.
Man, at the end of the day, we're going to talk about the Central Five. Then the young men that got locked up for a rape that they didn't commit. You got Kevin, Antron, Yusef, Raymond, and what's the last guy? Corey. Man, Corey. Oh God, Corey. Bless your heart, bro. And I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad all of them are okay. I'm glad all of them are safe. I'm glad they got some money to go in their pockets, but I don't ever remove what they went through. You feel
Or
me?
give them their time back.
No, never, man. And it just goes to tell you that this Linda Fierstein female deserves all the pressure, all the heat, all the fire, everything that's coming her way, dog.
Especially the fact that she still feels of their guilt, regardless of it being, because of her reputation or not. She deserves it.
I don't know, man. What do you feel about it? You were there. You grew up in New York City. You were there during the
I
time.
wasn't there, but I
You
growing up during that shit, that's all I was hearing about for, I want to say from 89 to what, about 93? You know what I mean? I watched Trump go to
the newspaper.
take out
$85,000 ad, dog.
ad in the New York Times, all that shit, you know what I mean? And like you say earlier, I can't even lie to you. Yeah, I feel like what's going on today just sheds more light on that shit, you feel
Here's
what
my
I'm saying?
question about that real quick, that ad.
All right.
Was this campaign to reinstate the death penalty for their case or for all cases?
Check it
in New
out.
York?
Check it out now. Check it out. All right, what you got to understand with Central Park, like I explained to you earlier, majority of everything around that shit is rich shit. You got Madison Ave, you got all types of rich shit, but on one side
It's hood.
is hood. That's Harlem. You feel what I'm saying? All of that shit is still considered to be Manhattan. With that being said, what I just said, Madison Ave, yo, that's Trump territory. You feel what I'm saying? And in and around that area, around Central Park, that's Trump territory. So with that being said, you raping shit in his territory, and he already don't like us as it is, and you raping.
So you try to uphold that pristine.
The reason
Yeah.
I'm asking, because if his campaign was to reinstate the death penalty just for that case, so my question is basically, if a white person commits a rape, then he deserves to go to jail.
You'll
When
never
a
hear
group
him
of
say
black
that, though.
People
He wouldn't
committed
give a
a rape,
fuck.
then they need to die.
That
for
ain't
it?
something he cares about. He cares about us dying. That's the side he on. Because he ain't
But that just
reinstating.
goes to
he
show
ain't
his
reinstating-
biases since
of
back
course,
then.
Of course. He's talking about somebody that got a small loan of $1 million from his fucking daddy. Come on, man. You feel what I'm
There
saying?
was never no due process for these men.
Yeah,
bro.
like, never.
Bro, you know what shocked the fuck out of me? The fact that they were 14 years old, bro.
The oldest one was 16.
Bro.
And how was a 16-year-old considered an adult and able to be sent to Rikers?
Right.
Rikers,
The only reason why that shit happened because it was multiple felonies, and the multiple felonies just added up to. By the time they added up the multiple felonies, you heard what I can't remember what the law is, the New York law is. But when all them shits got added up, they had no choice but to charge them as adults when it was time for them to go to prison.
But
and
the
don't get it
16-year-old
twisted.
was in an adult prison before 18.
But it's a but. Rikers is a prison that certain crimes, regardless of your age, they'll send your ass there. They have sides for young niggas. You feel what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong, and don't ever get it twisted. They'll put your ass in it with the grown niggas too, depending on the crime you committed.
Crazy,
You feel
bro.
what I'm saying? Which is crazy. That's bullshit.
Crazy,
Because you
dog.
can't have no 14, 15-year-old in there with no 20
Grown-ass
grown
men,
You
bro.
feel what I'm saying? Especially when they saying you in there for rape. You feel what I'm saying? That's the worst thing you could be in there for.
These men went through hell, bro.
And you know what? One thing I'll say about that, like you said, they did go through hell. props to them in the sense of, where they showed that they sat down and like, you know what, I lied on you and I lied on you. And then all of these years later, knowing like because of what each other said is what got us in this predicament, but we all fucked up. They stayed together and they it doesn't seem like they really blamed each other. They're blaming the right people.
Right. How could you blame each other?
They were young.
Because at the end of the
and
day,
at that age, like they said, they were coming up with a story they didn't know, so they could have taken that anger towards each other. Remember, at one point, Yusuf kind of looked like, oh, that's him. But once he realized, damn, we all went through the same thing. This is why, at that age, props to them for finding that strength to unite and stick together.
Yeah, man.
Asking about each other. How are they? How is this person? The moms coming together.
I ain't gonna lie, but the one part that I couldn't blame the lady for. Remember what you said? Mom was like, "Yo, no, man, I can't have your son contacting my son because my son about to get out." And he's like, "Yo, I need to hear from him." Like, bro, remember the only reason why homeboy is even in that position was because
he went to go ride for his homeboy.
My God,
Buddy
bro.
wasn't even there. I think he left before the situation even happened.
Wasn't even involved in it.
He wasn't even involved.
But yeah, he ended up going to one of the hardest struggles, bro. I'm not saying none of them less a struggle, but he went to Rikers at 16 years old, bro.
What really hit me was honestly the very first part in the beginning where the crime had happened. They're looking for the boys, and the ladies.
You talking about the show now?
Yeah, in the actual TV series. They talk about basically, you hear the reports. Oh, there's a group of Spanish and black males, such and such, right?
Wow.
Then, when you fast forward a couple of minutes, and they're, this crime has been reported, they're like, oh, we need 5 black men. But you knew it wasn't just black men there. We need 5 black men, is what was said. And that's like, when you think about it, that is the reality. Even if that wasn't the way it was said and it is just a series, that is the reality of how it happens.
But never get it twisted. Just because you're a brown, meaning Spanish.
Because there was one Spanish.
You still a nigga to them.
You
still a nigga to them.
We're in the same boat.
You still a nigga. You feel what I'm saying? They not gonna look at you no different, no less. Believe it or not, they even look at Chinese as a nigga.
But the fact that, bro, they sit these kids down and tell these kids to say this.
They coerce them through the whole thing.
The confessions tape didn't even sound right, bro. But yet the jury still went ahead and said, "Yo, we find him guilty." I don't understand it, bro. I don't get it. This is the color of her skin, bro. Just says it all. There's the answer to everything. They say, "Oh well, they didn't have due process." You looked at them and say, "Yo, I need to convict them." Even when they were looking at where the rape took place, they say there's nowhere close to where the boys were. But fuck it, let's try to connect it anyway.
Sorry to cut you off. And then, from what I'm understanding, a bunch of precincts were involved in this, right? Precincts, we all know what precincts is. A bunch of them were involved. So with that being said, they was passing along info to each other. You feel what I'm saying? On top of that, they was taking the kids back to the scene of the crime and like telling them, hey, tie your shoelace, and trying to push them over into the fucking the crime scene so they could get DNA and all. Like, yo, let me tell you something, man. Police, y'all dirty, man. Like, and it's crazy to know that y'all is the ones that's supposed to be serving and protecting us. Right. This is why, like, when I drive in a car, I'm terrified.
Heart beating, nigga.
And I could have my license and I could be straight. Everything is legit, but I'm still terrified. And it shouldn't be like that, dog. It should not be like that. Y'all here to serve and protect. You feel what I'm saying? I shouldn't be in fear when I come around y'all.
Is it to a higher? Because a part of the show.
And it's not only the police too. You got to see the prosecutors and everybody. You feel what I'm saying? All of them was working in unison, dog.
So do you feel like is the pressure on them to come up with conviction rate for them to keep pushing these agenda to convict these guys?
It was to save face, because if you really pay attention to the series, and again, like I said, I'm not just gonna go off of the series because I love the fact that we actually watched the interviews with them, the ones on who is it?
Yusuf and Raymond.
No, whose channel?
Oh, that.
Shouts out to Vlad.
On Vlad's channel. I'm glad we actually got to watch those interviews because it gives it another perspective that you don't really get to see on the Netflix thing. And basically, what they went through at that age, obviously, when you watch it on Netflix, it still has to be a story for everyone to sit down and watch. So when you actually watch that raw, this is what happened to us, and you listen to them, I'm hearing my friend scream, in the other room, and they're telling me I'm next. And these are 14, 15-year-old kids
terrified,
at this time and in this period. We gotta remember they're not as educated as we are now about our rights.
Facts,
you
big
know,
facts.
because a lot of people they know now. You know,
Yeah.
real quick to bring out a camera. They didn't have all of that. Back
Yo,
then.
when they was interviewing some of these kids, one of them didn't even sign.
Yeah.
Yusef say he didn't sign off on his his confession, and they didn't record it.
But hold on, if you pay attention, like throughout the trial, when they show basically the prosecutors started to have doubt, like, wait, maybe these boys are innocent. It then turned to political.
Yes.
It was more of,
still
well,
gotta
we
push
already
it.
said this, so we
Yeah,
have to.
we still gotta push
So it's
it.
like everyone knew that these boys was innocent, but who the fuck cares? Because we already said that it was them.
It was them.
And you know what's so crazy about being in a time like this, even though we find it as maybe as more dangerous as it was back then, the difference is we have the technology now, we have the knowledge now, because, bro, they really had no idea.
But let
what
me
to
ask
do
you
with
something.
that.
Sorry to cut you off.
What?
Do you really think that matters
What do you mean?
with the technology?
Absolutely, bro.
Why? Because they're
Because
just gonna
this
get more
technology,
advanced.
the technology that we have now is the same exact technology that
That
permitted
got 'em
them
off.
to be able to
Do
go
you really
and
think they'll
retest
help
that
us? They'll
DNA.
make us.
Absolutely.
They'll help us out with that type of
The ones with the
of
money.
shit.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
The ones with the money to
Like
pay
you think
for it.
if
You know what, and you're experiencing that firsthand because you know what, and hopefully you're comfortable with this, but with your current situation when it comes to his case, one of the things that we noticed was the money was everything. Just to prove his innocence with his case, it was literally the lawyer telling you like, okay, well, you have to pay for the investigator, you have to pay for the PI, you have to pay for the lab testing, and they don't do that. So if you want to prove your innocence, you have to have the money to do that.
We're in pocket for all that shit.
And if you don't have that, well, take a plea.
you don't
Oh,
have
well.
anything.
And that's the reality of
The justice
what it
system.
is. The
And a
justice
lot of us
system.
don't, like you said, a lot of us don't have the money. So what's one of the first things we do? We're gonna take the public defender because we don't have the money for the fucking lawyer.
And guess what? The public defender can't pay for all those tests to get done.
No,
You
yeah,
have to
but
pay
they
for
got a
it.
lot of fucking tasks on their hands too. They
But
got
guess
4 or
what?
5
The
systems.
police and the prosecutors and all that, they have all of that at their disposal.
Right.
They have all of that to test DNA, and your options is to go off of the test that they provided you with, and if you want anything extra done other than what they were willing to do, what they thought was necessary for that case, you pay for it.
Yeah.
How is that fair to the victim or the suspect?
If he
That's
or
what I said,
she is
suspect.
not guilty.
The suspect. That's
You know
why I
what I'm
said
saying?
that.
That's
Man.
crazy, man. Like that story right there.
So at that
fucked
point,
up.
you're just a suspect.
And
You're not
then-
yes or no.
And then you know what's crazy? I think we touched on this already in this shit, but it's what's even more fucked up is like the bitch. She's still pushing that these niggas is still fucking guilty. Trump, you won't even give these dudes an apology, dog.
Yeah.
A simple apology. Yo, what if they released them niggas and didn't give them the money, but Trump apologized? Yo, that would have been enough for me. You feel what I'm saying?
Wow.
For me, and I ain't even, I put this on everything I love. Just the apology alone from that dude and from this female, y'all could have kept the money. I would have been straight with that. You feel what I'm saying? Just to know that you are sorry and you feel some type of compassion for what the fuck I went through for all them years, because I know you was going hard to get me locked the fuck up. But now you come to
Being able to
grips,
admit
that you're wrong. Yo, I would take that before I take the
And not
money any day.
privately.
Publicly, just like you
Publicly.
did.
Publicly.
But taking
Same
out
way you
5-page
did it
ad,
to me.
nigga.
Take out another, pay for another fucking ad and
Facts.
apologize
Facts,
to
bro.
me. You feel what I'm saying?
And you know what he said? He put in a tweet. I can't really find it, but he was like,
And I'm gonna look
the
for it.
Netflix series is one-sided. That's what he said. It's one-sided. You don't talk about the whole story of.
And I wanted to touch on that too.
Go ahead.
So, one-sided or not, because they did say that this was to tell the boys' side of the story,
And
right?
sorry,
So hold on, one-sided or
shit
not?
had nothing to do with this nigga. On top of that, he's trying to insert himself in this shit.
No, he's saying that because they had the little clips of like the little
Fuck
thing
him.
what he said.
Fuck Agent
so
Orange,
if
man.
we take that right and pay attention to those clips that the clips that they showed, the little news broadcast that he did, and the little articles and stuff. You said everything you needed to say for yourself.
Exactly.
You said out of your own mouth that these 14 and 15-year-old boys deserve to die.
You gave out their phone number, their address.
Made everything public.
And it was somebody else too who wrote something else too and said that they should be hung from trees in Central Park and they should be sodomized.
And they didn't even go through a proper trial yet, bro. Guilty.
These is kids y'all talking about. At the time, these was kids in the 80s. Grown men.
My thing is, if he was going to defend anything that he said, they never in that series was like, oh, well, this is how Trump felt. They let him speak for himself. They took out your ad, they took out the news clip, they inserted it, and they didn't speak anything on it. They really just inserted it. You take from it what you take from it. And you said what you had to say.
Yeah.
And that spoke to your character right there. Because if this was, you know, a grown man or grown men as a group, and they did do this, and you know, it was evidence that proved that they did it, and someone came out and said, you know what, they deserve to die for that, I could kind of understand it. But you look at 14 and 15-year-olds, because my question is, if they weren't black or brown, would you still say they deserve to die? Or are you gonna say, oh, they were misled, or they went down the wrong path, they didn't know any better?
No, you know what they would have did back then, knowing them back in them times? The music. They were listening to this nigga music, and they felt that it was okay to go rape in the park.
Hip hop is wrong, shit.
They would have found so much avenues to blame it on, and still we would have came out the losers at the end. You feel what I'm saying? It's just all around. Like, the shit was just crazy.
But there's a silver lining in this story. In 2002, I think it was, Mathis Reyes confessed to the crime of raping and drugging in the Central Park, and he's a lifelong criminal, and he ended up confessing to
other rapes.
Yeah, as well as the one that obviously that he did. And with that being said, they still serve their time. Yeah,
and on top of that, they didn't even get out as soon as he confessed.
Right. Because they tried to pin him with them as the group, as that sixth person.
Which is fucking crazy, bro.
Because, like you see, they tried to pin it all on. Wow. Yeah, they was all together in a group and
They literally did everything that they could to make sure that these men had that as a reputation. And sadly, it worked. Because even after they got out, one thing that they said in that interview was people looked at that. Even after their exoneration, you know, showing their face in certain areas, that's what they're going to be seen as. And I really hope that this Netflix series, like, kind of shines more of a light, not just for black and browns, but for whites, for everybody, on the reality. And it will never, ever, like, that's just a piece of growing up black and brown's reality. But just shine a light on what it's like, and understand, like, where our mistrust comes from cops and the authority and things like that, because we know, like, we are targeted, regardless of what they say. And they say, oh, you're complaining, we are targeted. And that's just one case.
Wow.
From how long ago?
Good point, man.
Imagine how much other cases you got
that we don't even know about.
We don't even know about.
Khalifa, Broward, bro. New York system's fucked up. The justice system overall is
period
fucked up.
Everywhere.
You feel me? And at the end of the day, money's king, like you said, but it shouldn't be like that. It should be justice for real, for real.
And I think, I'm sorry.
Right.
I think the title for that series was perfect.
Hell yeah.
When They See Us, because that's exactly what it is. You saw their skin tone, you saw they're from here. Lock them up, they must be guilty. Even if they're not guilty of this,
this how they look at us.
They're guilty of something.
This is just how they look at us. That's I'm like you say, I'm glad for a movie like that right now. It came out in the perfect fucking time.
And you know, unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of negative comments on Facebook about it. Like, I've seen a lot of people, and unfortunately, it's our own black and brown saying it's sad that it took for this to come out for people to see it. And I don't feel that way. I honestly
what you mean?
Believe, like, this is what people need, because not everyone knows.
Check it out.
Some realities isn't this. I saw a clip. I've been really interested in the Red Table Talk lately. And I saw a clip when they were doing about racism. And there was this white lady that came out and said it. And she was basically like, you know, when it comes to racism, a lot of people don't know what crossing the line is. A lot of people are uncomfortable talking about it. And because of it being an issue of lack of communication, it's not something that's discussed. And people get offended very quickly because they don't know what to say or how to feel comfortable in that situation. People need to break that barrier.
But don't you think it should be common sense? what you should and shouldn't say.
No, in the sense of a lot of privileged people do not really understand, wow, this is what they go through. It takes for them to see serious and see things like, oh, wow, that's what's happening. That happened to them. Oh, wow, so when they complain, this is really what's going on. And sometimes it takes for them to have to see that other than hearing us complaining.
But how can you be when...
What do you mean, Drew? Come on.
How can you be when you spend majority of the time...
That white lady said this specifically. She doesn't, she says she hears black people say one thing. White people are privileged. And she says she wishes that a black person would come and tell her, in the moment, you are being privileged right now, because she never knows. She goes, I don't know what it means to be privileged.
But where's she hanging out doing shit like that? Because I guarantee you, if she came around one of us and did some stupid shit, one of us would tell her, hey,
here's what I'm saying. You see that realness, that the fact that she's awake about it, and she's saying, look, I want to know. Tell me. Listen, this is privilege right now, because if this was me, this would never happen.
But even that's white privilege, and if right there.
No, but I'm saying if more people wanted to know that, instead of getting offended every time a black person says, well, we go through this and we go through that. Why get so offended
I think that's
when we
bullshit.
speak about racism?
I think that's bullshit. Because even that is white privilege right there. What the fuck you mean? You should know. These are things you should know.
That's a part of being privileged. They're sheltered from it, so they don't know.
You should know. You got a TV.
Think about it like this.
You spend half your fucking day and time and months in your phone. This is something, you see this movie we talking about right now? I spoke about this before in one of our podcasts.
Think about this, you said they should know. In that same show that we're talking about, the same series we're talking about, one of those boys, when they said about rape, he didn't know about sex.
Exactly. You know, what
he was 14, he didn't even know about sex. And for
remember the times.
Exactly. So for us, it was like, oh, well, we knew about that at that age. But for them, we're like, oh, they should know. No, they didn't. So the same way they didn't know, these are older, privileged people that grew up around those times, they don't know. They don't.
You still got to remember the time that shit happened. You heard what Buddy said? We walked in the park around the lake and thought that was something very romantic. Yeah. They don't know. Back in those times,
and
they wasn't as fast
from those times too.
Wait, I don't want everybody business. How old you was when you broke your virginity?
We ain't gonna talk about that.
How old you was?
16.
I was fucking
really
12. Or some shit like that. You feel what I'm saying? God. So with that being said, like, and this is in what year? My shit was in the 90s. When yours was when?
In
2000.
Okay, whatever. Different periods of times. You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, back then them niggas was in 89. This is when this shit happened. Them niggas wasn't fast like we was, man. They ain't even have fucking BET.
Right, but the point is, people are privileged. People don't know.
Right, you should know better, bro.
Knowing better in that society, they don't go through that shit. You feel interested, they're not around it. I'm not making an excuse for it. But I love the fact that she's coming out and saying that I don't know and I would like to know. That is dope. We need more people like that.
And that's all I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? To build on it.
So
I'm hoping that this show can do that.
Slap you in your fucking face,
right,
man.
Bro, you never
Period.
You never gonna get progressive, bro, with this nigga, dog.
Man, what do you
y'all
mean,
let us know
bro?
What y'all think about Essential 5.
Comment down below if you think that communication between interrace whites and blacks, Spanish, can kind of bridge that gap between racism, or at least start that path.
Y'all let us know.